So as I was saying earlier, the looking back now over the years, it's pretty phenomenal. To me, what I've been able to accomplish, and not having to be on the biggest stages in the world and sell millions of records and have all the trappings of the superstar, because there's a gigantic pain in the ass that goes along with it as well. So,
Oh, I'm not telling you.
where I'm at in life, I couldn't be happier. Um, and again, it's about the experience. And I know, Stephen, we've said this now and again. It's pretty awesome where there's these, I'll say now, more just natural themes that overlap as we talk show by show.
Yeah.
And you were saying, a little while ago how, again, how things are intertwined together. Just, for a minute, maybe you were drumming for Holy Soldier, right? For yeah, that's it, for one note. All right, thank you. But during that time, this everything kind of weaved together. And you also mentioned this, and I'm sure it's true. At some point in our past, before we got together to play drums, which was you playing drums, me saying, but in all the no-con stuff we did, that was just 5 years ago when that started, right? Maybe six at the onset, but then years before that, yeah, we had to been at the same shows, at the same time. The time when you were taking a piss in the Palladium next to Tom Araya or wherever you were, I could have been in the stall. Who knows, right?
Armored Saint listening party.
Yeah, there we go. So it is pretty awesome that, whatever steps we took have led us to where we are right at this
Yeah.
moment, right at
Amazing.
this time as we record this. So,
Amazing.
I'm greatly appreciative of the time that you give every week, for us just to share stories. Again, it's fun to us, right? And that's what it is. Ultimately, this is all about having fun. And if you guys enjoy listening to it and seeing little snippets on the old YouTube, great,
And even suggestions if there's something you guys want us to talk about or discuss. I mean, the forum's open.
for
We're
sure. Yeah, we'd love to, leave comments. Again, you can find us on Instagram, Spotify, on YouTube. All those platforms allow you to lead endless comments, good or bad, doesn't matter. But yeah, if there's any recommendations, anything you're interested in, any topics that you want to hear us cover, yeah, right. We'll
oh,
definitely open to it.
I gotta bring up something kind of cool today.
Yeah,
So there's on Facebook there's a Geddy Lee official um YouTube or Facebook channel,
yeah.
and he says one word for me, and I thought about it, and I wrote impeccable, and I got a like from Alex Lyson today. It was just like
You've arrived. Yeah,
it
it's
just
like
blew
what?
me away. I was
Yeah,
like, Alex Lyson's thought that it was cool. I mean, he may have liked everybody else's comments, but I
right.
thought, what's a word to describe Geddy Lee? Impeccable.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I just thought it was I needed to interject that. I was like,
No.
hey, I got a like from Alex Lyson from Rush. I'm like, oh, I'm famous now. No,
Yeah, take a
I just thought it was
screenshot.
cool.
Yeah, yeah,
I just
that
thought
is
it was
cool.
cool. Yeah,
That is
that was
totally
cool.
cool. All
Anyhow,
right.
back to the story.
Yeah, so I think that's where we end. At least my tale of how I found my way from the leg braces to the not talking, which has been solved, to working through that, to being introduced, to what entertainment is or could be from a screen test early in my career. No, I was not on the casting couch. Let's be clear. I didn't make it that far.
Well, you're cuter than Ricky Schroeder.
And probably not as wacky either. So,
No.
yeah. But again, being introduced to bands, playing with friends, and that's what it was always about. There's some things I really didn't touch on now that I'm thinking back a little bit. I had some, and I guess I'll add them right now. I had extensive conversations with the manager of Dark Angel when I was working at a gas station. That same gas
The
station.
Texaco.
Yeah, the Texaco. And I remember this was after Don Doty left the band and before Ron Reinhardt joined, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a kid and I answered an ad. I know any of those guys yet. Lightly, we crossed paths. But I remember him asking me, how would you handle playing in front of thousands of people? How would you handle? And I said that, I'm up for it.
I'd probably puke right before I
Yeah.
went on, but that play for me. I'm sorry to interject.
No.
Playing live for me is the biggest thrill of my life. There's a bit of apprehension at first, and you get through the first 4 or 5 meters of the song, and it's like, oh yeah. And then when you stop playing and you hear the reaction from it, it's like, okay, we're in the pocket. Even if we fuck up, even if something goes awry and whatever, we all still know how to come back in and make it work.
Absolutely.
And whether it's 20 people, 40 people, 500 people, 10,000 people, I would still go out and do it. That's always been my biggest dream, is to be that level of, check this out, these fucking people like me.
Yeah.
And even though it didn't go that big, what little it did still made my heart just big. Was like, oh, how fun is that?
Absolutely. So that was a cool, again, it's about experiences. So, I didn't make it past the kind of interview phase there, but, having those conversations was interesting and fun, all while they're working on cars in the background and I'm on the phone on the wall,
the pneumatic
talking
drill.
to them. Yeah. And then another, 2 more quick stories. After the singer of, and I'm completely forgot his name, Mike Howe. Yeah. He left
what a voice on that guy.
Absolutely. Heretic. So he left Heretic.
He passed away, didn't he?
He did. Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
But phenomenal singer. I remember back when he first, real quick, Snare saw them in LA all the time. And then he went into Heretic. And then from Heretic, David Wayne was out. That's before David Wayne passed away as well. But he ended up being the singer for Metal Church. So
Heretic, a great band.
Heretic was doing interviews. Yeah, auditions. I did a live set with Heretic.
No shit.
Yeah, at their studio.
That's cool.
That's where I met Dennis O'Hara, who ended up producing the Gregorian Punk demo in his house in like Torrance, in his living room with his grandma there, just watching and cheering us on. It was
making egg rolls.
Yeah, talk about a surreal. He was a really cool guy.
He's a cool cat.
Yeah,
he's a very good guy.
But that was cool. I remember it was As Kingdoms Rise. It was after their first or second record. And Heretic, they just put a movie out. Why didn't it just come out like last couple of weeks? But that was a fun experience. Again, I wasn't at my best. I knew I kind of cracked a note, and the drummer kind of looked at me, not like, you suck.
Marek?
Like, oh, yeah. It's like, oh man, but I was feeling it. It was fun. And I dug those songs that, And Kingdoms Fall was one of the songs I sang. And again, it was just the opportunity to be able to do that. And then just before my daughter was born, was up in LA, lived up there for a minute, and I did at least 2 practices with Coal Chamber.
Oh,
yeah. So I got to, sing their songs, Big Truck and a few other ones. And Dez, if you know Dez Ferreira, who's in,
Yes.
Cold Chamber got back together for shows, and his main band, Devil Driver, who's been in a year. See, he's phenomenal. He's a phenomenal frontman. But just during that time in lives, he I don't know the full story, doesn't really matter, but he kind of stepped away. And at least for a minute or two, I got to kind of
So
share some time with those guys, and that was fun. That was fun to do. Just again, an experience.
so can you elaborate just a little bit on Bill Crawford and
Yeah,
your guys
like
what
how we
you
came
guys
together.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I
so
know you got it was 30 years ago, but like what was the you know the
yeah,
pivot towards what you guys have been doing
yeah,
and how it
definitely.
came to be this great, amazing music that you guys wrote.
No, thank you. So Bill so this is in probably 89, 90, let's say. Um, Bill was in a band called Grindstone. Um, they were phenomenal. I actually have a videotape. I didn't even realize I had. So Bill, when you listen and watch this, I found the videotape. So I'm going to get it converted to a DVD. But it had a couple videos that they did, kind of out in nature. They were kind of a kind of quirky metal band that yeah, I'll have to get you. It's kind of hard to describe, but they had long beards, and there was a few shows that they didn't play with any clothes on except their instruments, so they were a little
Hey,
controversial. But we did a show with
Red Hot
them.
Chili Peppers.
Yeah, we did a show with them in, of all places, I think it was Stanton, near Cyprus,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a club restaurant. And again, remember, this was actually my first Gregorian show. That's right. So we came out with the
Cool.
spacesuits. So I think they played before us. Like, doesn't really matter. Either they before us or us before them. And there was another band or two, but we were kind of at the 10 to 11 o'clock phase and our time, and it was completely packed. And I remember I worked at Music Plus, but then I worked at Sam Goody. I never worked at the Warehouse or Tower Records, but there was Olivia Newton-John had just released a new album, and the record label would go ahead and give you, promo material. So I took two sleeves of cassettes with a CD or a cassette single of Olivia Newton-John, and I bought Keebler Elf cookies from the grocery store next door. And it was my goal, not really sure what I was going to do, but I go, I'm going to throw these out. So we're in our spacesuits, and I'm throwing out cookies. And once people realized what it was, some people started eating them. So how's that just the, compare and contrast? You have this metal band that's dressed in spacesuits playing a Celtic Frost induced Paul Abdul cover and a Judas Priest cover, and these instrumentals thrown at Keebler
Some
Elf cookies,
still bitching.
then throwing out cassettes, and everybody's going, "Oh, awesome! This is a demo." It was Olivia Newton-John. So some threw them back at us once they realized. I still remember it was like a kind of a white and purple cover with her picture on it. I probably have one. I held on to it. But at that show, then that's where I met Bill. And he was in his band. I was in Gregorian. And then did we ever do another show together? I don't think so. But again, we hit it off at that night. We started hanging out. We started writing not too long after that, probably. And I can't remember, and it wasn't Let It Ride. That wasn't one of the first songs we wrote. I know that. But Why Should I think was maybe the first song we ever wrote. And it's crazy if that was like 25 years old, and it doesn't sound like it's 25 years old.
Not at
And
all.
we just continue just to connect. And, we went from, having, maybe like the Tascam, 4-track recorder to then the advent of the PC and getting Pro Tools and
Mhm.
working there. Then Bill just continuing just to develop, and he's been phenomenal. Like for me, that's just such a blessing to have, to be part of that, where we just connected, and we weren't into the same type of music, really. you know, a similar interest, of course, you know, metal, but it wouldn't seem like that would kind of come together. And especially, you know, this, while the stuff we wrote clearly has been recorded and we put out there, you know, on Apple and different places. You could still stream it right now. I just type NoCon.
On Reverb Nation.
It's on the Reverb Nation too. But over time, it was just again, I remember I used to go out to Arizona when he lived here, we lived there a number of years ago. I drive out like on a Friday and we set a plan. Let's enjoy a couple cocktails Friday night. Vodka was our drink of choice back then. And then we hang out. We had a pool. Saturday we would write. Sunday we would record. We would finish the song and I would leave. And then, you know, once driving something is a kind of a bummer. Could go that far from Orange County. You're probably
Yeah,
doing 20
that's
hours, you
that's a
know,
drive.
round trip. And so when I
That's a
started
drive.
flying out there when you could find reasonable flights, but we did a few sessions like that. So again, it just kind of carried on year over year over year. And I finally got to the point when you know, when we met and I said, I need to get a drummer. And we had a buddy of ours, Chris. But he
I was going to ask that question
yeah,
about that
he just
drummer
wasn't
before.
he just wasn't available. I played with him in a band before, and it's fine. It just didn't work out. But I go, I need someone, and then you know, here we are. You know, like you came into the picture, and then shortly thereafter, we needed a bass player. Then Caesar kind of circled back into our lives after all those years. You know, all those years and all that less hair, you know, and then from there we put the shows together. Bill and I, we still have a couple songs that are in the works that we haven't really touched in probably a year and a half. But you know, I hope to do that again soon. Hope to be out in California in early June. So mark your calendar. And then you know, see if I can get together and do it. But yeah, it just was one of those things where it's just you know, to kind of summarize in 10 seconds, we met each other through bands, had common interest. We kind of just, you know, enjoyed each other's company. It became more of a passion to want to write songs. He had the ability and the patience to record and produce, and I was more in the
He's
position.
got a great voice too.
Yeah, and just said, let's just bring this together and see what comes of it.
I'll tell you what, when you first, and I think Glenn was the one that had introduced me into you to say, hey, they're looking for a drummer.
That's right. Yeah.
And when I got the music, I was with Isabel and I said, hey, check this out. What do you think? And I said, it's cool because it's everything that we've all been a part of that has meshed into something that nobody's ever heard of. And it's the coolest music ever. And I'll still have to say Needles my all-time favorite. They're all good.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but Needles just
nice.
It's just killing.
Why
is my battery getting ready to die on my laptop? But to be a part of that. Sorry.
No, well, we've been going a little while, so
no, I'm just there it goes. It's back on. Yeah. But to be a part of that, and I know it was a little shaky at the beginning because, you know, some of the drum parts, I was like, oh, I think I want to change it a little bit. And then Bill was like, no, I want you to play like that. I'm like, okay, I want you to be happy. I want you guys all to be happy. And then it culminated, you know, to a fun raucous, which to me is gelling together and having a good time. And I'll still even remember our last show with, I think I have video of it where, you know, I think KP was a little slow on coming into something, and Bill's like, not one rehearsal. It was like, it just, but that's just kind of the camaraderie of how fun that was. And
absolutely,
you know, to have to be able to have that opportunity, I'm forever grateful for you guys to let me come in and tinker around with that band, because that to me was probably the funnest of all the bands I've been in.
That's great. Yeah. And I definitely enjoyed it. And again, same thing, you know, not really sure what to expect. and I think that was good. Again, I tried not to, and I had to kind of temper some expectations only because it's like, all right, well, and well, we got to do this and this at this time frame, and we have to do that. But you and everyone, but no buts. I was saying you and everyone else, but you kind of stood out just as like, here's someone that I never even knew.
Right.
But it was a referral,
But we
and
do know each other somehow.
yeah, but funny now we go through all this, it's like, wait, we actually probably did. So that's just what makes it, if you look at that full circle, fully, like Glenn was an integral part of it in many different
Absolutely.
pieces. And again,
the Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, same thing with Kevin, and I'm going to kick your ass to Glenn and all his musical escapades over the years.
Yeah.
It's there's a reason why we all kind of come back together and connect. And again, it was that common bond, common interest, and really when it came down to it, there was probably some drama that I kind of forgot about. Not with us at all.
No.
Maybe a little bit, but not with us directly. But when it came back, it just like, yeah, this was
I
an
played
adventure.
with a broken leg.
That's right.
Had a broken leg, but the show must go on, right?
Yeah.
So
I want to hear no one, like, if anyone's, well, I got a hangnail, I can't make it, or I'm tired. It's like, no,
I have a headache.
You showed up and literally broke a leg for the performance.
I broke that's a great, I didn't even think about that. I broke a leg to break a leg.
Yeah.
Very cool. What phenomenal stories. And I think that we could probably go on for hours and hours for
Probably
each of us.
Yeah.
But fascinating. And I think this probably could be two parts for you, because I have a lot of questions about all the bands you've talked about, been in, because listening to you talk about it, it's fascinating. Like, I know Gregorian Punks. I'm like, that's what? I had no clue you were in that band until
That's
tonight.
awesome. Yeah.
I had no clue. And I'm like, fuck, I know that band.
And it's so funny. There was someone, this was a number of years ago now, but they knew the band, and I forgot how it came up, but they're like, oh, well, they're instrumental. They go, no, and somebody else, I was with someone else. They go, no, they had a singer. No, they didn't. It's like, yeah, they had one. Oh yeah, who? And I go, me. And they were adamant about it. And I said, listen, it doesn't really matter. This is a pointless conversation, but but there were two eras for sure in that. But yeah, we played out a lot of places and did some not huge shows, but we did a few bigger shows, which was really cool. But yeah, it was out there in the LA Orange County area for a few years. So that's funny.
What was the gap between the last band you played to playing with to being NoCon?
Yeah. So I would say, so there was one, and as you said this, it just reminded me of something. It's very likely that, let's say 94 was when I last played. And then in 2004, I think I did a one-off show, and there's a video of it. And it was NoCon, because I have to find the footage. And it was no one that we play with now. It wasn't even Bill. I don't think he was available. I'm sure we were talking, but he wasn't available. So it was Kevin, a buddy of mine, Nick, this guy George, who was a drummer. He was the younger kid at work. These are all people that, well, except for Kevin, that I worked with. And then Ron, and he was the bass player. And again, we rehearsed a few times, 2 or 3, somewhere in Anaheim. And with the reason why we did it, we were doing a fundraiser for this guy at work. So his name was Nile. So I go, well, let's call it Nile Stock, and
Cool.
let's get a club. And it was the Diablo's Cantina in Lake Forest, which became like a strip club. And then now it's like Buffalo Wild Wings. So it's you look at that,
Wow.
yeah, you know. And we
Don't get
worked
those
out,
wings near that.
yeah, exactly. We worked out a deal with the club where we started like at 3 p.m. I go, listen, we'll start early. It's a work related, really, it was a work function. Everybody showed up, but we charged admission because it was a fundraiser.
Right.
Then we said, I go, can we get a percentage of the bar and the food? And the guy said yes.
Cool.
So I think we ended up getting, I don't know, 30% or something, but we raised like thousands of dollars. It
Nice.
was awesome. And we pulled it together and we presented
Doing
him with a
good.
check like a
Yeah.
week or two later. But in that we had different people sign up and say, oh, I do stand up or I do whatever.
Perfect.
And there was another band that was kind of just mellow, but it was everybody from work. So that was that was kind of funny because that was the 100% first time I've done those shows. And I want to say the timeline probably was 94 when I last did anything live in a band setting. That was 2004. Maybe the date's off. I'll double check, but let's say 2004. So that was a decade. And then you go to 2019 when I did the next. So then it was 15 years. So pretty much over 25 years, I did one show kind of somewhere in the middle with really no idea if I'd ever do anything again. But the opportunity presented itself.
Now, did you do the No Con songs with your old drummer live? Did you do any shows with him?
That one show we did at Diablo's Cantina.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like Why Should I? Was it Needle? Maybe.
Such a great song.
Fear, I think, was around back then. Slip Away might have been. Yeah, Slip Away was around. God, yeah, those songs, it's crazy how old some of those songs
I've so
are now.
morphed those
Yeah.
songs over and
Yeah.
over again now with different beats and
Yeah.
heavier playing on it, which is fun to me because I know it's like I know those songs like the back of my hand now. So
Nice.
to be able to throw these fun nuances into it, and it's such great, just such great songs.
Yeah, it was fun. So
Such great songs.
So yeah, I think that was about the time frame of all that.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, what a career you've had. And I'm sure there's probably a lot that you haven't even told yet. We should probably make a part 2
Maybe
out of
so.
this.
Yeah, I'm I might have to, like I said, I had to take some notes earlier just to kind of stick on some main themes, and then I completely forgot about the Heretic Dark Angel Coal Chamber stuff until
Yeah.
until somehow it jogged that memory. So yeah, there's other things for sure.
Yeah.
And again, I've hit on this
Amazing.
theme a few times. It just, hey, it's all about the experience, right? And if you can
Yeah.
have it large or small, it doesn't really matter. It's more a matter of, it's more comes down to, hey, I played on the same stage as Dave Lee Roth and Jim Morrison and others like at the Whiskey. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah. Gazzari's, the Troubadour. I mean, I did all those too. The Waters Club, and we'll have my version next up, but that we've crisscrossed so many
Yeah,
times
right.
in the stories is I'm just blown away by the people that we were in either the same bands or worked with the same bands or and real quick Robbie Braun, I'm not talking shit about him. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I went in there with my kit, I put my kit up and I played, and he was so critical of it. I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I don't have time for that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah.
And again, it's nothing against him. It's just, I'm me, you're you. And I don't have time for somebody to criticize what I do or how I do what I do. But
not at all.
anyhow,
Yeah.
did I bring it down? Sorry.
No. So with that, let's take it back up again.
Sorry.
This is probably one of our larger episodes. Maybe it's two parts. You obviously, when you're listening to it, you'll
Yeah.
know. But again, I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say, Stephen, on
Good
the
story.
next episode. And as always, appreciate you guys tuning in week after
Thank
week.
you.
Again, catch us on Spotify, Instagram, YouTube. Do subscribe, do leave comments. It does help get us into the algorithms. We talked about the 21 countries that are checking us out.
So amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome. So anyway,
Thank you.
until next time,
Thank you.
see you. Have a good one, Stephen.
Stephen James out.